So what I want us to do is to start becoming more conscious, start choosing things in a better way for ourselves, and start creating a life that's going to gear us to really take advantage of the opportunities that are going to show up for us in the years to come.
This podcast is brought to you by The Integrated Human. We work up, down, inside out to plug yourself into your potential. If you want to see what we are up to and what's next, sign up to our newsletter or follow us on social media. If you like what we are doing, we really appreciate it if you can like our post on social media and YouTube and help us grow.
All right. Welcome to the Big and Small Podcast. I'm Jason Shields and I'm big.
And I'm Marit Gabrielsen and I'm the tiny one.
Back in the hot seat. Here we are.
It's a cold seat, maybe. Not hot.
A cooler seat.
Cooler seat.
What I know is that people from the south of Europe are now coming to Norway to get a cool vacation, where in the old days people used to go from Norway down.
Well, I think
summer.
people from Norway still go down.
Yeah, of course they do. But now it's like ridiculous hot.
Yeah.
Like a whole nother level. I grew up in the desert, and 50 degrees Celsius is something that like I experienced last year when you won the bronze in the world championship. We were in Vegas and I got 50 for the first time. And Sicily was at 53 degrees.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's insane. Come on.
Yes.
So
it's cool in Norway though. It's raining a lot. So
real cool.
It's not weather. It's not global warming. Let's keep it to a lighter subject.
All right.
We're gonna talk about Viktor Frankel today.
Oh, nice. Cool. Bring it.
You talked about him before, I think, on the podcast. Mm-hmm. The last Faux State Continuing weekend, we talked a lot about him. Mm-hmm. And for new listeners, can you repeat who he is and what he did?
Yeah. Viktor Frankel was a neurologist, medical doctor, researcher, psychiatrist.
All the titles?
Yes. That basically was in Germany right before the Second World War. And he had an opportunity as an academic to leave Germany and go to the U.S. and work there. He got a visa, but his parents didn't want to leave Germany. So he stayed. And that kind of ended him up in 4 different concentration camps during the Second World War. One of them being Auschwitz. People know about that one in Poland. And he didn't tell the Germans that he was who he is. He didn't tell them that he had a high education, so he didn't kind of get an easier road during this whole thing. And he could have kind of gotten out of a lot of the hard labor and stuff if he just said, hey, I'm a medical doctor, psychologist, or psychiatrist and a neurologist. So if you need me to do some of that kind of stuff, here I am. I can rather have an office job. He was kind of with the people for quite a long time. I think it was only after years in this situation that one of the Germans realized that he was also a psychiatrist, and back in those days, they didn't have all that medicine to do therapies with people. They did a lot of psychology as well. So, they did do some kind of psychology. You're eating ginger like it was ramen soup over there. I'm giving a lecture on Viktor Frankl, and you're just like, ruff, 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 ruff. Yeah, that was, wow. Yeah, you know, when you're eating pasta and you're kind of like eating and everything's good, but you kind of get one of those that's hooked up to a whole bunch of other ones, and it's just a whole bunch just comes into your mouth. That's what happened, but it was ginger. I was like, wow, that's a whole lot.
Yeah, I need a lot of ginger.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway. So I think
this is a very good example of we don't edit the podcast.
Yeah, we don't edit the podcast, and I reserve my right to be shocked.
I was paying attention.
Yeah, you were.
I was, when you watch a good show and you're paying attention, and
Yeah.
Anyways.
So
yeah,
back to this amazing human being. So anyway, Viktor Frankl did a little bit of therapy with several of the German soldiers, actually, because just so people are clear, though the Nazis were the ones perpetrating in that situation, in the concentration camps, they weren't feeling well with it either. That's one of those things, being a victim and being somebody who's perpetrating a violent act. The perpetrators often have a harder time getting over what they did than the people who were victimized, weirdly enough. And then, of course, there's psychopathy and all that stuff, sociopaths that don't have issues with that. But in most cases, the people that were involved as guards and stuff were wrecked afterwards as well. And anyway, getting back to Viktor Frankl, he created a whole branch of psychiatry and psychology called logotherapy. So, you have psychoanalysis that was created by Freud and basically developed a little bit by Jung, Carl Gustav Jung. And Carl Gustav then went off and branched off in his own direction with hierarchies and all kinds of archetypes and dream analysis and all that. But that was like the golden age of psychology, because the mind really didn't have a super good model. People talked about philosophy and your personal philosophy, but they didn't really try to figure out, okay, your mind works like this and my mind works like this also. It was more like, okay, do you believe the same things I believe? Which is a little bit different, because when you have specific trauma situations or you have behaviors and you don't know why you do something, then psychology starts to be more valid. And if you're going to be a therapist, for many, it's really good to have some kind of a model to work from. Well, his model was logotherapy. And we can get back to that in another podcast. But Viktor Frankl wrote 12, 15 books, something like this. And one of the most famous ones was Man's Search for Meaning. And I recommend that book for everybody, Man's Search for Meaning. And one of the great golden lessons from this was, now this is, having experience and then teaching from experience is so much more powerful than just learning something from a book. Like I keep telling you that, many of our life coaches that you meet first need a life and they need coaching. Mm-hmm. They don't have any experience. They're like 21 years old and I'm a life coach. Well, you have not lived a life yet. How are you going to coach anybody else? You're going to have a 60-year-old lady who just lost her grandson to come in and, you never lost a person in your whole life. Oh yeah, but we have a system for that. It's different when you haven't experienced anything. You haven't done anything with your life. Not to slam life coaches. There are many very good ones. But I'm just saying that experience, if you then are able to digest it and reflect on it, grows you. So don't be afraid to have experiences. Don't try to wreck your life, but have those experiences. Dare to involve yourself with people and things so that you can upgrade yourself. But also digest, integrate, and reflect. Okay, so Viktor Frankl came with a very interesting observation. And that was that when you're in a concentration camp, one of the things that's very scarce is what?
What does scarce mean?
Scarce means there's not a lot of it.
Food.
Yes, food. So people are starving and they're working hard physically. Okay? So that was one of the ways that the Nazis killed Jews and other people that were not wanted, was that they worked them hard physically and fed them very little. So the ones that were sick-ish, they died. It was easy. It was like you save a bullet. Literally. That's why they did the gas chambers, because it was too expensive to shoot people. On these death marches that my great uncle was a part of in Japan. He was a prisoner there, and they walked them for hundreds of kilometers and just slit their throats with knives and left them on the side of the road because it was too expensive to shoot them. So my poor uncle came back from the Second World War having been a prisoner in that situation, and talked about it a little bit. So, you talk about the logistics of killing people. It's kind of weird that there's also a logistic and how much that costs. The Nazi state didn't want to use bullets. So worked them. They got, things done, products at the same time as they were able to get rid of quite a few people. So food was scarcity. It turned out what he observed was that the people who were most focused on getting food starved first. And why do you think that is? Think about it. The people's whose goal were to get food, to get the most food, they starved first. Why? That's because you have a group of people and everybody needs food. And if you look like the greedy one, they're afraid that you're going to take their food. And if they have friends, they're going to make sure who doesn't get to eat. The greedy one. Greed is one of those things in society that's not good because it looks like you're not willing to share. You're not willing to participate in society. So society pushes you away. So the group consciousness, if you're greedy, will push you away. So what he found was that if your goal is to get food, make sure that food is not your first goal.
And here we get to the whole point.
Yeah. But if people who
Yes.
don't know this guy
Yeah,
need to
but
hear
this
it.
is where we're getting.
Yes.
Because this is where it's starting to get the very intriguing with your own goal setting.
Yes. This is where goal setting meets life and worldview, and it's crazy, guys. Okay? So if your goal is to get food, what you need to do is have a goal above that and a way of being that includes food. So, for example, he found out that if he could be valuable for the group, then the group would make sure who was fed.
He was fed.
He was fed, right? So he was never greedy for food. He never ran after food. He never pushed people out of the way to get food. He never tried to eat more than his share. Most likely, he probably shared what he had. And the group of people around him were focused on making sure that at least he was going to live, because he was a person who was exhibiting all of the behaviors that that community needed in order to trust him and to have him and want him. So he became valuable negotiating with guards, making sure that people who were sick were kind of rotated out of the chain gangs and that kind of stuff. He was very, very, very interesting. Also, one other lesson that was very interesting just from this: cigarettes, weirdly enough, was something that the Nazis gave to prisoners because that was kind of like a currency. So nobody of the prisoners smoked. Well, they may have smoked before they got to Auschwitz, but they didn't smoke their cigarettes because cigarettes were what? They were currency, meaning that you could buy extra food, you could buy medicine, you could give the guards your cigarettes, and because they also needed cigarettes. So there was some kind of commerce there. He said you could always see who was about to die because they didn't get up in the morning out of their beds to go work and they smoked their cigarettes. So when smoking their cigarettes was the thing and not participating was the thing, because you had to work to get cigarettes. So there was actually some kind of commerce for working also, little incentive, though it was, a cigarette a day or whatever it was that everybody got. It was something. Then he knew that within a couple of days that person was going to die. Very interesting, right? So that person also knew, but was it that they were going to die and they knew it, therefore they smoked the reserves and kind of didn't give a shit? Or was it that the fact that they didn't give a shit anymore and they smoked the reserves and didn't see a future was what killed them? And that's the interesting thing, the power of your mind. And that was his whole point. Then he realized that meaning, what does it mean, is power. So that's the beginning of an introduction for a genius of a man, Viktor Frankel, who wrote 12 to 15 books. The most recommended one is Man's Search for Meaning.
Yes. My question then, after the short
All that.
very short introduction is it's just interesting because if you follow,
you had time to eat your ginger.
yeah, I can put more in here.
Okay.
Anyways, because if you a tendency I have myself, and well, I think when you listen to things. Mm-hmm. So if you've been to the Faux State Continuing Weekend, if you listen to the podcast a couple of times, you would have heard that before. That if you want food, don't make food the thing.
Yeah.
But if you go online, and a lot of people listening to the podcast, myself included, we're looking for goals. We do set goals. We want more out of our life. And then you start to get confused because how many of, I don't know, every coaching or self-development thing, or I don't know, out there, you need to set a goal.
Goal setting.
Goal setting. It's a big thing. And
people sell courses and books and programs and subscriptions like you wouldn't believe for goal setting.
For goal setting. So say you set a goal. Because this the reason why I brought it up is because we had the mastermind session yesterday, which is a session we have available once a month for the people that's been to one of our Flow State Continuum events.
Yep.
Just so they can keep in contact with the process and kind of have like a monthly check-in that they kind of remember themselves.
Yeah.
And in that session we started talking about goal setting and in this we talked about money because money, it's many people, myself included, have money as a goal. Mm-hmm. They want a certain amount of money or want money for something. Yeah. So we used the example $100 million.
$100 million. Like in Silicon Valley, where this was this expression was created, you want fuck you money.
Yeah. So say your goal is because this could be you want to be a CEO, you want to have a vacation, you want something, but everybody can relate somewhat to money. So you want $100 million. Mm-hmm. So you set that as a goal. Mm-hmm. And then you start to get confusing because if you listen to Viktor Frankel, you shouldn't want that $100 million to get $100 million, but then you need a goal because you kind of want it. So then you shouldn't have a goal because if you get the goal, you won't. If you set the goal, you will not get it. Mm. Hence, you want food, you're gonna starve. So don't want food, donkey ears. Mm. You know, it's very. This is because we talked about this yesterday, and it was very fascinating when we started to get into it because.
We went an hour late on the mastermind, an hour late because of this conversation, by the way.
Because we had, and I have, sorry language, but fucked up this before, which I realized yesterday. And I realized why, because I wanted to become a world champion. Mm-hmm. And I still in the cards later, but right now I'm not competing anymore. So that's not my focus. And I went for it last year.
Yeah.
And
you got a bronze.
Yeah.
With all the crazy stuff happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's totally a different story. But I went all in on that and it became the thing.
Yep.
And it became like the biggest bowl of soup ever. Mm-hmm. It wasn't anything else. I only wanted that thing.
Yeah.
And I see now how that wasn't the best thing because it became also too much. Mm-hmm. Because what you listen to the Viktor Frankel, you talk about, and same with money, it shouldn't be the money or the gold medal. And everyone, if you listen to a champion, it was the process of getting like, there.
Fuck you.
Well, it was the process of getting there. Yes,
who
because
I became doing
it because then they did the Viktor Frankel thing.
Yeah.
The medal became the result of the work.
Yeah.
It wasn't the medal itself.
No.
He got food.
Yeah.
Because he was working.
Yes.
And he was working so hard that of course we as a group need to feed him.
Yeah, he's helping us. He's so valuable that I will give you a tenth of mine and 10 people give you a tenth of their food. They don't miss it, but you get fed because you're
Yeah,
valuable
because you have
for
10
20.
people giving you
Yeah.
a tiny piece.
Yes.
And not one person giving you everything.
Exactly.
And the same then with money.
Yeah.
If you want $100 million,
Yeah.
and we had this conversation earlier today.
Yeah.
Because we kind of, are we selling events? And we said, no, we're not selling events.
We don't sell. Exactly.
We do not do sale.
We're giving it away. We're giving it away. But people pay, of course, so that we can survive and live and continue to spread the word.
And with having a price on
Yeah.
it means that we can expand and serve more.
And that's
so
the point.
byproducts, the money becomes the byproduct because
Yes.
we really want to host events.
Yes.
I love it.
I
It's
love
so
seeing-
fun.
I
They
love
are-
seeing people grow.
It's so amazing when
Wow.
people just have an experience.
Yeah.
It gives me fuel for a month.
I get
One
goosebumps- I get
person
goosebumps when I
gives me
think
fuel
of-
for a
yeah.
month.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
You know, and then but it costs something. So the money becomes the byproduct of the service. But you're not doing it for the money. You're doing for. I just love to do this.
Yeah, I love it. Exactly.
And I would like it to do in front of more and more people.
Yeah. Well,
Because
that's- You
I kind
want
of
to
want-
see the change in more and more people. That's the point.
And the more people we are, the bigger the field,
Yep.
the deeper we go,
Yep.
the more everybody gets.
Yeah. Exactly.
And this is very interesting, I thought, because I've been looking at different courses now, and everybody talks about goal setting.
Yep.
And then you bring in Viktor Frankel, and you go, yeah, of course you should serve, but to get that distinguish between having a goal, but let the goal be a part of something bigger.
Mm-hmm.
That's very, I don't know, confusing.
Yeah.
Mind breaking.
Yeah, it's mind breaking. So let me break this down in a simple yet quite, I don't know, it's structured, but there's many pieces to it, like a simple but complex way. So first of all, it's important to set goals as a newbie, as a new person in this whole game when you're becoming self-aware. Because if you don't know what you want, how do you know when you got it? Like if you don't know what direction to walk, then any direction is good. So why do anything?
Or you just
Or it doesn't
stop.
Yeah, you just something, you don't know. You're a young person. And like we went through this whole thing, like what should I want as a man? Well, first of all, it was with you're a man or a woman. That episode that was a while back. I don't know which one it was. But we talked about, okay, what is the basic? The basic is you have to be able to accomplish the normal things in society. Okay? You have to be able to get up in the morning. You have to be able to feed yourself. You have to be able to go to work. You have to be able to hold your promises to a certain degree. You're supposed to come in at work at 7. You come at 7, you at least have to do the basic things that everybody should be able to do. Okay? And if you can't, then you have to compensate some other way. You either have to find a special situation, which maybe makes it a little more difficult for you, or you have to learn something else or become extra good at something. I had dyslexia, 2 different kinds of dyslexia, so I couldn't read like everybody else. So I developed my auditory learning much better, did a much better job with that than people who can read and write easy. So now I read and write easy because I've done so much of it, but I compensated. So now I have an extra added bonus. So you're obligated in a way to kind of figure yourself out a little bit. And until you know what direction you want to walk, you should be focusing on improving yourself, become stronger, become more awake, get some experience, figure out kind of who you are. And usually people in their 20s are figuring out a little bit who they are.
So then in that process, you would say having a goal like lift 100 kilo in squats.
Yeah.
Are because it's easy, concrete,
exactly,
measurable.
Exactly. And this is the nuance here. Very often we have ideas like that. This is the naive way of setting a goal. I want to lift 100 kilos. Or how about this? One of those things. I want to lose 20 pounds. right? 15 kilos. Let's say, I think it's like 11 kilos, but let's say I want to lose 20 pounds. Okay. Cut your foot off. What do you mean? Well, you wanted to lose 20 kilos, 20 pounds or whatever it is. Take a machete and cut your foot off. So you don't want it. Oh, well, maybe I want to do it without cutting something off. Oh, okay. So defining your goal, like if you're going to set a goal, first of all, the naive goal, which is I want to lose 20 pounds, then you have to figure out, okay, I want to lose 20 pounds by regulating my diet and exercising. Okay. So then are you just going to eat crackers? Well, what do you mean? Well, you can regulate your diet and your calories by just eating crackers. No, I kind of want to eat something that keeps me healthy. Oh, yeah, and I kind of want to keep my muscle mass. Oh, okay. So then you have to eat a diet that maintains your muscle mass and is healthy. So you start structuring actually what you want with your goal, and that can help you set a frame for how you want to live. So that's not a bad thing. So in your 20s, before you kind of know what you really want in your life, that naive goal setting is really useful.
But you still mean that in that type of goal setting, you should still be nuanced enough. So I want to lose 20 pounds with not cutting my foot off. But,
no chainsaws.
But with exercise and diet.
Yeah, with exercise.
And I would like to have a diet that builds me and are healthy.
Yep.
So you should be that kind of detailed around your goal.
Yeah. It's kind of like, well, I want $100 million. And okay, good. Do you want to rip off grandmas?
No.
Exactly. You see, this is where I'm getting to. This is my whole point. I would like to do that by being of great service, and so much service that I am worth 100 million. Not that I get 100 million, but I become so valuable for the world that it's natural for me to have $100 million. Now that's interesting. Now we're starting to move into the range of Viktor Frankel's idea. I want to become so valuable that, not that I have $100 million, though I will have that because it'll be natural, that I am worth $100 million for people. Like, people need what I have, or want what I have, or love me so much, or whatever my method is going to be. But just that idea completely changes your relationship with the money, completely changes the energy.
But okay, this is going out to the right here.
Yeah, but we'll get back to it.
Yeah, we're going to go back to it because that's the point of this, my genius plan today.
Ooh, evil.
You just, okay.
What?
You just slide it all the way down in your chair.
Yeah, I'm getting ready.
Okay. No, okay. So say in this example where you feel like you want to provide a service, and that service is paid for, because so it becomes natural for you to have $100 million. But many of the people I know in the service industry that provides a service, it can be a PT, it can be a chiropractor, know many of them, or physical therapist, or whatever you do, provide a service. It's not a product, it's a service. They want $100 million, but they don't feel they can take paid for the services.
Yeah, that's true.
Is that then because lack in their own belief in their service, or value in their service,
or
themselves,
or it's an old belief system in the back? Because and this is, now we're getting a little bit away from my building the skyscraper but we'll a lot of people who are therapists are therapists for a reason. They're therapists because they are damaged themselves. Raise your hand, right? Because through your own wounds, you will understand other people, right? So very often people will want to help other people because they have a lack of self-worth and self-esteem themselves because of some trauma they had earlier in their lives. Not everybody, but most people, very few people go, I want to be a chiropractor or a dentist because I want to cash in. No, people are there because they want to help people. I don't think I've ever met a chiropractor that just wants to take people's money. They always want to help people.
Yeah, I
And
agree with that.
and medical doctors, they work so freaking hard, guys. You have no idea.
They don't have that job for fun.
It's
or
not
the
a fun.
cash.
To be quite honest, it's not a fun job.
Then they should have changed. If it's for the cash, they should have changed jobs.
They should have gone into finance, like banking or something like that, and that's okay. But the whole point is that it's not that they don't. It's not that they necessarily don't believe in their service. Maybe some people don't, because some people are so fucked up that, for example, I have had friends that are girls, that if a guy likes them, they don't like the guy, regardless. Like if, Thor from the movie Thor came up and showed them love, they basically think he was a jerk and horrible. And I'm like, why? Well, basically, we get back to the feeling that if he likes me, then he's shit. Basically, because they have such a bad feeling about themselves that anybody who likes them is disrespectable. Right?
Okay, so then if you come back to the original question there.
Okay.
So then if you, because we talked about you becoming, you are a service, and that service is natural to be paid for and is a byproduct of that. But then if I'm...
Parker always said that money is a byproduct of a service rendered.
Yeah.
Serve, get paid.
But then if I then have issues, have all belief system, all patterns, they may block then my own goal setting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
like
because
even
then,
what you think is possible.
Yeah, because yes, I want to be... So you write this beautiful thing down on a piece of paper. I want to have $1 million. And then you found out, now, I want that, but I would like to do that through serving people and I become of value. But then when you're going to do that in real life, you block yourself.
It's possible to block yourself.
Because
of
belief system and...
And who you see yourself to be.
Yeah.
Because, you can say something that you're not. Say that you're a tall man.
I'm a tall man.
Yeah, you can say that.
I'm a tall... No.
Yeah, right? But
I'm a tall man.
But you're a lot of things, but you're not a tall man.
I'm not a tall man.
Right. You can, and that's the problem, that people think that just because they said something, then it's a fact, and therefore it's going to happen. It's like the whole Secret, the book, The Secret. You want something real bad, therefore you get it. No, you have to actually become the person that it is natural for that thing to be. I always use the world championship that I had, the 3 that I had. If you asked anybody who was with me in that time and asked them, are you surprised that he became world champion? Nobody. It's, of course, I did every freaking thing. I did, that was legal. I didn't do drugs, guys. I didn't do steroids or any of that, but I did all of the work. I got up early and I ate right and I slept enough hours and I came to training always, and I figured out how to train around injuries. I figured out how to regulate my training dose. I got adjusted from my chiropractor. I did all of the work. I learned the technique. I did my repetitions. I was relentless. I was freaking relentless. It was a natural, of course, product of who I was that I won the world championship. So when I started to grow my practice in chiropractic, I had at one time one of the biggest practices in all of Norway. That was who I was. I was living and breathing it. I woke up and I am still excited to treat patients, but it was an all-encompassing endeavor. I would and this sounds really weird, but I would drive by the hospital and think, you know what, today I'm going to make sure people don't end up in there.
That's a big statement.
Yeah, but that's it. I was that passionate about what I was doing. I was talking about chiropractic. I was telling people about the issues that they had. I was telling them that, hey, you're a grandma and you have these issues. What about your daughter? How's your daughter doing? Does she have these? Well, yeah, actually she does. You should get that checked out. Boom. And whether they were in my town or not, I was all in people's health to make sure that they were living a good life and not ending up in the hospital. So I would drive past the hospital and think, tomorrow on the way home, tomorrow I'm going to make sure that less people are in the hospital than otherwise would have been. I'm going to be responsible for helping people. And how many people do that with their practice? And that's why mine was bigger than theirs. You see, it's about being that person, not just deciding on the couch that you're going to have yourself a Mercedes-Benz tomorrow, right? So my whole life was about that thing.
Yeah, but then what's different? And this is where it gets confusing.
Yeah.
Because, I understand you talk with it about with passion, understand you did that.
Yeah.
But what's the difference between, because you said you became that, it was everything.
Yeah.
But what's the difference between that and the concrete goal that people set?
Well,
because where's the, you understand, it's very different to formulate the question, but
yeah.
Well, it becomes everything, but then at the same time, it shouldn't mean anything.
This is an interesting thing.
Because he wanted food. He also was starving.
Yeah, but was my idea to have the biggest practice in Norway?
I don't know.
Well,
I actually don't know.
It was a measure of my success, but it was never the goal. My goal was to keep people from going to the hospital. My goal was to serve the people.
And the byproduct became
the
biggest clinic,
the
practice
biggest
in
clinic,
Norway.
and giving me financial freedom, right? So, and now we go back to building the skyscraper, because this is important. Now you guys just got a little bit of a view into how I was working. I did that with chiropractic. I did it with jiu-jitsu, right? So I've gotten all of my goals through making my life about something, right? So when you are in your 20s and you're naive and you're going to start setting goals, you have to kind of figure a direction. And you may have this whole idea that I want to lift 100 kilos. I want to do that in deadlift. Okay, great. Super. You want to squat 100 kilos. How do you want to do it? As soon as you start asking yourself how you want to do it, then you start looking at the fact that you may have to change your life. Because if you can't squat 100 kilos today, it's because you're not doing what people who are working towards 100 kilo squats are doing. So you have to figure out, okay, what is that, right? And then you start mechanically trying to set up your everyday life so that you get that goal. But here's a problem, guys. What happens when you hit that goal? Like, have you ever lost weight? Have you lost weight and you got to that goal? What is the first thing that happen? You celebrate.
You're having a donut.
You go have a donut. You go, you go enjoy yourself. You go celebrate your success, and you get fat again. And you're like, oh, no, I didn't get fat. Okay, if you didn't gain the weight back, bro or sis, you are the exception. Like, it is what happens, people, because they don't make it a lifestyle. Okay, now because we're reverse engineering this shit right now. You understand? So if your eating habits are not a lifestyle, the goal will not remain. And you see, is your goal to one time in my life squat 100 kilos? Or is it to become a person who can at any time squat 100 kilos? That's the question. And because that's also a specificity thing. What is your actual goal? Is it at one time in my life be that strong? Because that's going to be, okay, you got your goal, done. Or is it a person who's going to always be healthy, fit, and strong enough to do that thing?
Because and then lifting 100 kilo is one of the measures that you're getting there.
Yeah, exactly, that I'm getting there. I want to
kind of just a check that you are improving, that you're not going the other way.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. So the checklist around that thing is like, okay, I want to have a job that I like. I want to have a fulfilling relationship with my partner. I want to have a car. I want to have a dog. I want to have, a healthy body. Okay. Now, are those specific or general?
General.
They're extremely general. And then you don't really know.
I have no clue what a good relationship with my partner means to you.
Oh, fulfilling.
Fulfilling.
Yeah, what is fulfilling?
I don't know what fulfilling means.
Exactly.
For me and you, it could be different things.
Yeah. And
nice words, but...
They're nice words, but even if it's just the thing you're using for yourself, how do you know when you're fulfilled?
And even what's healthy.
Yeah, what's healthy? Is it a healthy relationship? Is
And
it a
what's
happy
strong,
relationship?
being
Is it strong?
strong.
All of those words are like, okay, you just basically said nothing.
Nice words. What
Nice
does that mean?
words. What does it mean? So if you're going to set a goal at a noob level, make it specific. Steve and I went to Tony Robbins when we were in our 20s. So then we're noobs and we're writing noob goals like we want to be debt free in 8 years. We were debt free after 3 years. Pretty cool, right? I want to find a new office building and I want to own that office building. Okay, that was an 8-year plan. 2 years later, we had an office building that we owned. Pretty cool, right? Amazing. I want to have the best functioning chiropractic team in Norway. People were coming here from all over saying, this is the best team I've ever seen. It's the best run clinic I've ever seen. Thank you very much. So it was like very specific things that I know that, okay, now I've achieved, I have become the person that creates that thing, right? Now you work here and you run this place like it's like a well-oiled machine, right? What you do in this office is insanely high quality, right? But who taught you what to do here?
You did.
Yeah, that's the whole point. Because if I wasn't the person who has that thing, I could not have transmitted that to you. And then I couldn't have expected you to do a great job. Though, to be quite honest, a lot of the things that you do are also things because you're huge. I've never seen anybody work as well as you work and constantly evolve. So at some point, I'm just like, okay, now she's got a handle on this. I'm just gonna let her go, and she's just fixing everything, right? So the point is that becoming the person that has that thing is essential, and that's level 2. Level 1 is the noob thing. I want to lift an articulate, and then you start defining it. Level 2 is you start realizing that I must be a person with the qualities of a person that is achieving this. And then we get into the Viktor Frankel thing. If you want money, how are you, and your focus is money, you're just going to have that money.
$100 million.
Give me $100 million. And your focus, your number one focus is that thing. How do you think you're going to treat people around you?
Oh, like they are after $100 million.
Yeah, you basically are.
Or they're competition for your money.
They're competition, right? But this is the interesting thing.
And you would never treat them with an ice cream or a cup of coffee, or
exactly.
You will ask them to bring their own coffee to
Absolutely.
your party.
Well, that's it. Every single party is like, people almost have to pay you.
No, since you provide, you should have access money.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. I mean,
you should have that.
But you start treating your friends like a business transaction. You start not wanting to be generous. And when people start to see, they may not notice it to begin with, but after a while, they start seeing that, I always buy Joe coffee, but he never buys me coffee. Huh. And you're like, fuck yeah, score. My name's Joe, and I'm going to have me $100 million. My friends buy me coffee. I don't have to spend money on Starbucks. Except that then suddenly they don't buy you coffee. And not only that, but they actually get a little like, fuck, every time I go out with that motherfucker, he's always, trying to not pay the bill. He's always trying to get out of it. He's always expecting me to pay. And how does that actually work in your relationship with these people? It sours a relationship. And most of the goals that you and I have on the outside include other people.
Yeah, all of them.
All of them on the outside. Well, that's it.
Like, no, I'm a world champion. I'm like, yeah, you need people to train with.
Yeah, and you also need people to compete with.
I need to compete with. Like, yeah, everything is involving other people.
Yeah, you need an organization. You want to be a world champion, but you don't follow the rules of the organization. You get kicked out. Okay, you're done. For some reason, people don't want to compete against you and you get disqualified or there's a strike. People don't want to have you there. You can't win. You can't be world champion. You don't have any training partners that are willing to spend time and energy and love with you to get you where you want. Boom. You don't become world champion. You don't have a coach who believes in you and has a good relationship with you and is willing to stick it out with you, because coaching world champions as at least as hard as becoming a world champion, because I've done both, guys. I would say that it was much easier for me to become one than it was to coach them. because I can't do anything when they're on the mat. And all the reps I watch. It's like me doing the reps, except that I don't get in good shape from it. Like I get no side benefit from that, actually. So if you don't have a good result or a good relationship with your coach, you're not going to get there. It's all of these elements have to include the people around you and the community somehow at some degree or other. And why is this important? Well, I always created energy and leverage against myself for my goals by giving it a meaning that was larger than the goal. And what do you mean by that? Well, let's take the World Championship, for example. Okay. I knew that I wanted to be a world champion in jiu-jitsu. So just to show up to train wasn't enough, was it? No, just showing up to train, meh. I mean, when you don't feel like training, you don't. And sometimes you have something else going on, meh. And then maybe a couple of your neighbors have a party and they really want you to be there and you haven't said yes, or you haven't said hi for a while and you said no 2 times and now you're going to say yes, okay. And then you start dropping out of trainings because community is pulling you away. So my meaning to the World Championship has to be much more than just training. Okay. So what about serve? I want to serve. Yeah, but if I'm serving one person myself, am I going to drop out on my training more often than if I'm serving a group of people? Absolutely. So if I'm serving a group of people now here, is that less valuable than serving a group of people here now and serving generations of people to come? Legacy. Of course, much better to have a legacy. So I'm leveraging myself, and every time that I'm fucking tired, I'm broken, I just can't, I'm sick to my stomach thinking I have to go to training again. I literally came home, wrecked, slept on the couch, fed my face, have to go back to training. I stink, my bag stinks. Everything's just not aesthetic with the whole situation. You're pushing yourself too hard. You understand this situation. How do I motivate myself? I think about the huge meaning that I've been applying to, if I win this thing, I serve generations of people. I become the example. So that's the integration, the energy, the way of, in a way, having a goal. Yeah, you want $100 million, but why? Well, because I want to drink Mai Tais on the beach. Okay, well, that reason, you can buy Mai Tais on the beach now. You may take out a bank loan, but you can have that. Why do you want $100 million? Well, I want to be financially free. Well, if you just live really cheap, you don't need that much money. Everybody on a low wage can live in a tiny apartment probably. You can, if you're not spending money, you don't need money. So, well, no. Okay, hold on a second. Why do you want the $100 million? Most people don't have any good answer. I want to feel rich. Well, okay, let's go back. You want to feel a certain way. The money's giving you something special, a special feeling. So why do you want that feeling? What is the feeling? Okay, can you get that feeling from something else? Interesting. And weirdly enough, often, if you're doing the things that give you the feeling that you would get if you had $100 million, the chances that you get $100 million is higher. And you're going to want to replay what I just said about 1,000 times because I said it fast, and that's the clue. And I'm not repeating it.
Now we get more listens.
We're going to get some angry comments. Yeah, but the whole point is, why do you want the thing that you want? That's the next level, because then you start getting into Viktor Frankel level of things. I want to eat, yeah, but you know what? I want to be the person that's worthy of food. So I don't want to be dependent on the Nazis to feed me. I want my group of people, the other prisoners, to make sure that I get food. So I don't have to run for the food and fight other people. I don't want that. I don't want to fight the people I live with. I want them to love me so much that I eat. Well, what did he want? He wanted security, love, community, and connection. That's what he wanted. He wanted to feel safe. So he did that by serving. Does that make sense? So that's the big thing here. So that's why in the flow state, continuum weekends and all of that, we talk about the worldview, we talk about personal philosophies and all of this stuff, because that is actually the way to take your highest goals and ambitions and make them a reality. You need to have a frame and a way of understanding the universe that allows you to energize yourself to make things happen from the inside out. And that's the way it works, my friends. So remember, you matter. Unless you multiply yourself by the speed of light squared, then you're energy. But if you can't be energy, matter.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. We hope you felt we added something to your day and hopefully your life. If you want to learn more, subscribe to our newsletter and find us at integrated-human.com. That is integrated-human.com. Integrated Human on YouTube and other social media platforms. Have a great day and thank you again for listening. Love, light, and upgrade from us at the Integrated Human team.